All right. So, welcome to Math 212, Children's Mathematical Thinking. I'm super sad we can't do this in person, but it also meant that we could take pretty much everyone off the wait list. So if that was you, I'm glad that this worked out. Um, Today's meeting is really just to make sure we understand the logistics of the course and where to find everything we need, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so I can show you Canvas. I just wanna make sure everybody knows where to find everything on Canvas. And then at the end, if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them, okay? So let me go ahead and share this screen. Okay. So here we go. If you log into Canvas for 212, then this is what your student view should look like, okay? So at the very top, there's the logistics, which I presume everyone who's in the Zoom room found, because that's how you found the link for the room and the Zoom room password. If you click on syllabus, which I think most of you have already, but I just want to show you where it is and what we are doing this semester. So this is a 1-unit class on children's mathematical thinking. It's meant to complement 210A and 210B. So we are going to be going remote, which means that we won't officially meet every Friday in class. However, if you have any questions, you can pop by my office hours before our regular class time, which is 9:45 to 10:15, or you can email me to set up an appointment. I know a lot of you are still working, and gosh, that's just got to be so hard right now. So I really appreciate you doing what you can to be in this class, okay? So don't feel bad about saying, hey, I can't make this time, but I have a question. Shoot me an email. We'll find a time that works. All of the required materials are provided on Canvas, so you don't need to purchase anything for this class. Everything should be accessible through Canvas. Obviously, the attendance requirements are not really true for this semester. You really just need to do what you need to do, and we'll call it a day, okay? A few other things that I wanted to highlight here. So important dates. If you want to add or drop the class, then I think I need to submit my roster by April 17th. However, there is a withdrawal deadline of May 8th this year that you can still withdraw if you, and it's an excused withdrawal if you realize that now is just not the time for you to be taking this class, okay? I feel like a lot of you need it for transfer though, so I think we're just gonna power through it and hope that it works out well for all of us. Our last day of class will be May 29th, so it will be before June starts, right at the end of May. All right, grading criteria. This is probably what we are most curious about. So as far as the grading criteria goes, and let's just make that a little bit bigger. All right, so grading criteria. Ooh, the internet is a little slow in the rain. There's basically 3 categories of work that you're going to be doing over the course of this semester. So you're going to be doing some videos where you're going to watch videos, and then you're going to answer some discussion questions. There are 6 assignments in total, and every assignment has already been posted to Canvas. The first video response is due tonight by midnight, and I've noticed that I've got a whole lot of them already in there for me to grade, so thank you for being on top of that. To receive full credit, you must submit posts to 2 of the discussion questions. So you can start a new thread or you can respond to someone else's. It's very flexible in that manner, but you do have to have 2. All right, so video responses, that's going to count as 25% of your grade. Reading responses. So there is a link at the very top, and I'll go back and show you that, for a textbook for this class. And from that book, you'll have a few chapters every week to read. There's also a discussion questions that I want you to respond to on Canvas. And so those are going to be, there's 6 of them all together, and that will count for 25% of your grade. The third main section is mathematical content and thinking, because yes, this is an education class, but it is also about math and math content and how do we teach math. So there are going to be 3 of these assignments over the 8-week period. And those ones you're going to work through some problems, okay? And these are problems that you would ask your own students. So they're not like higher level math, but they're age appropriate, and we're going to do a variety from K through 6. You're going to work through those problems, but you're also going to write out some thinking questions. And so all of those questions are in the assignment, and I'll go ahead and show you that in just a moment. The final piece for your grade this semester is going to be a capstone paper. And I don't want us to make that feel bigger than it is, because if you do the video responses, the reading responses, and the math content, this capstone paper is really meant to be a summary or a synthesis of all of that stuff. You can go back, you can use some of the stuff that you've already written about, tie it into some other things. The biggest thing I want us to do with the capstone paper is make a connection with all of the different things that we're learning. Okay, so the question that I'm going to have you all answer, which you can start to think about now before you move through all the different sections, is what will learning mathematics look like in your classroom? Okay. I am happy to, I know that's a very broad topic, so if you were like, I have no idea where to begin, if you want to come and just chat with me, set up an office hours meeting about giving you a little bit more direction, I'm more than happy to do that, okay? It is also intentionally broad because I think we're all in different places in our practice, and thinking about what learning mathematics in your classroom looks like is going to be so very different for all of us. So I want to give a little bit of flexibility in there. This is really meant to be like, all right, when I walk into my classroom in a few years, like, what is it going to look like, and how am I going to make that happen? Okay. Let me pause here for a moment. Are there any questions so far on the syllabus?
Do we have any word limit for the reading responses and the video responses?
Could you say the first part of your question again? I didn't hear it.
So only the question is, do you have any word limit for when you're writing a discussion? Do we have any word limit?
I would say there's a fine line between being thorough and writing a novel. And this is a 1-credit class, so I don't need you to write like a whole paragraph, like 5 paragraphs for one response.
And then we have to check in the grammar, right?
Yeah, checking over that grammar, definitely. The grammar and the spelling, just to make sure that, what you're communicating is accurate. Part of that is, as an educator, you really want to be setting a good example for your kids. And so if you feel like you struggle with some spelling or grammar, now is a good time to start to work on that, because when you're writing on the board and you don't know how to spell something, it's so embarrassing. I've totally done that, where I'm like, what? How do I spell this again? So it's kind of meant to help you out in that way too.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about the syllabus?
The reading and video responses, they can just be one post as long as we have 2 questions answered.
Yes.
I have a question. I have the syllabus open. I don't see any exams listed. Do we not have exams for this course?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, and you'll find that pretty typical in a lot of your ed classes, that it's less about exams and more about synthesizing this stuff, learning new techniques, learning new strategies, pedagogy, and how do you incorporate it into your practice.
I have a question.
For sure.
So it says right there, you may start a new thread or respond to another one's comment. So by that, do you mean like I can like respond to one question and then respond to someone else's
Yes.
question? Okay, awesome. I got it.
Exactly. So if I'm writing 2 responses, maybe I want one post to be my thoughts, and then maybe I reply to Jessica's as a second response.
Right, but we don't need to respond to anyone's. We can just answer 2 questions and not respond. Okay, got it.
Yeah, so you might find sometimes you have a lot to say, and that's fine. Or you might be like, I'm not really sure. I'm curious what other people are thinking. So
Okay,
kind of use it to whatever suits you better.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about the syllabus? Okay, so I'm going to exit out of this.
So also
And
have one more quick question.
for sure.
So for the discussion, so we need to write down 2 questions down after you finish your prompts underneath. So we will be writing underneath saying what kind of questions do you have for this discussion, like for this course.
Yeah, so let's take a look at some of the assignments and maybe that'll help answer your question. Does that sound okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's just go to the week 1, for example. Okay, so if I click on week 1, does everybody see where it says video clip number 1?
Mm-hmm.
So that's your first assignment. So I'm going to click on that. And when I click on that, it gives me a few questions. So here's the video link. So it's right there. I can click it and watch it right in Canvas, or I can make it bigger and take it to YouTube. And there are discussion questions here. So for this video, there are 4 different questions. So you can answer 2 of these questions, or you can answer 1 and comment on someone else's, or you can just comment on 2 other people's posts.
So I can choosing like in 1 to 4, I can choosing 2 of the questions.
Yes.
To answer on a discussion, and then how about if, for example, I choosing 2 and 3, do I need to find out the answer for the number 1 and number 4?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you only choosing 2 questions on this. Oh, okay.
Yes. So it looks like there's a lot of questions for these, but I want us to pick, right? So I want us to pick like, what's really speaking to me this week? What do I feel like I have the energy for this week? So there's a lot of choice. There's a lot more content than you have to do. And then of those, thinking about how do you want this to shape your experience?
Oh, okay. So what kind of question are you meant to for you? Like, what do you have that more thoughtful? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so this is our first video clip. I know a lot of you have already done that. I'm looking forward to reading your responses on that. But let me go back for a moment and go back to the other thing that is due for week 1. So under week 1, there's a video clip, so make sure you do that. And then there's also a reading assignment. So I'm going to click on the reading assignment. And the reading assignment says that you're going to be reading the first 2 chapters out of the text, and the text is free, and it is right at the top of the logistics tab in the homepage for Canvas. So you're going to read those first 2 chapters. Now for both of the chapters, you're only going to answer 2 questions. So you're either going to write about what surprises you and what wonderings or questions do you have, or you can answer one of those questions and respond to someone else's. Or you can say, I'm just going to respond to 2 other students and call it a day. All right, does that clarify the reading assignments?
So the reading and video assignment is all the same thing, choosing one of the questions to answer in the discussion board?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So I can answer both, and then you can choose, or you can choosing one of them, right?
Right, but you have to do a video and you have to do a reading.
I know.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I did get a question about whether you can purchase the textbook. It is certainly available for purchase, okay? Now I know that this is a 1 credit class, and I know that as educators, you know, we don't always make a lot of money, so I was trying to make it free for you. So here's the class text, all right? So right under logistics, if I click on this class text, it should bring me to a PDF that has the entire book. So if you Google this, designing group work, I think they sell it on Amazon. I don't know how much it is. I have my own like paper copy because I really like it and I find it super helpful. So if you want to purchase it, you're welcome to. But if you feel like right now is not the time you want to be spending extra money on school, that's understandable. The text is here for free for you as well. Okay.
I'm sorry, I have one more quick question.
Don't worry about it. What's your question?
So because so for the reading, for the reading and video assignments, for when you reply to the classmates, does I need to answer the question that they have, or based on the video, or so what kind of thing I need to reply for?
So someone might say, I thought it was really interesting how she chose to add and subtract the numbers. And, I think that maybe another way of teaching this might be this way. And then to that, you can respond, you can say, oh, okay, like, yeah, I never thought about teaching it that way. Or I agree, and here are some ways that I might teach it. So you can either like talk about what they're talking about, or you can relate it to something else, like another idea that you have.
So if I want to respond to the classmates, I need to respond to two of them, right?
Yeah.
Like two person. If I want to answer a question, you're just choosing two questions to reply the discussion, or you can respond what you think for the classmate think. There's both way you can get a full credit for the assignment.
Yes. So you can answer two questions, you can respond to two questions, or you can do one of each.
So okay. So you can answer the classmates for separate two questions in each classmate has. Where I agree for this classmate saying I can respond them in the underneath, and then see another post and there's need to see a two person in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if I want to answer a question, you're just choosing two of the question on the video clip underneath. You post it and just answer the two questions, right?
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much.
Of course, of course.
I'm sorry.
Okay, no, you're fine. I'm sure there were a lot of other people who had those questions, okay? So all of this, like the content for the rest of the semester or our whole semester, 8 weeks, is already up here. So every single assignment that you need to complete for this class is already up, which means you could sit this weekend and power through and be done with the class, okay? I think that's a lot of work. I think that's unreasonable to think that we all have endless amounts of time, but you're certainly welcome to work ahead, okay? So today, by midnight, I just need your video clip responses and your reading assignment number 1. By next Friday, you're gonna have another video clip, another reading assignment, and the first math content and thinking assignment. All right, you've got a video clip and reading assignment for week 3, and then a video clip, reading assignment, and a math content assignment for week 4. And so it just kind of alternates every other week. All right, you're welcome to work as far ahead as you want. Just remember to please be thorough in your work. That doesn't mean write a novel. It just means be thoughtful, be creative. Don't always just go for the easy conclusions, but really push yourself to think about what's happening. And all of this is really to support you in that capstone paper of how is math learning going to look like and feel like in your classroom. Okay. If you would like feedback on this capstone paper, I'm going to say that my cutoff is May 22nd. So by May 22nd, if you have any questions about how to get started or your paper, you have to ask me by the 22nd. All right. I don't want that last week of class to be last minute discussions like, oh, I just started this. So at least jot down some basic ideas as you go. It is entirely possible if you sort of structure it right for yourself that with every assignment you're creating more and more of your capstone paper, and at the end all you're doing is really synthesizing it, maybe reorganizing or making connections between things. Okay.
So
Can you?
we don't have anything due for week 7?
There's nothing due week 7. You basically have the last 2 weeks to write your capstone paper.
Can you talk a little bit more about the capstone paper? What does that look like? Is it going to be kind of a combination of all of the discussion posts that we've been doing, or is it going to be more like lesson plans?
That's a great question. So it's not lesson plans. It's not lesson plans, but it certainly can include like specific ideas. So for example, let's say that you're going to be teaching grades 4, 5, or 6, okay? And you know that you want to teach the higher grades, and so you know that fractions is probably a big deal. So you might really think about, what does learning mathematics look like in my classroom? You might think about the video assignment where you watch some students work through fractions. So what are some things in there that you're like, oh, I bet a lot of students are going to struggle with that. Okay, how should I teach that? And then you might go back to the textbook that we're using and say, okay, well, they suggest these kinds of activities to help students not feel dumb or like they can't do the math. And so maybe I should teach it in this way. And so I don't need like a detailed lesson plan, but I want you to talk about like, what are some structures that you might be putting in place to make what you need to teach feel accessible to all of your students. Does that clarify that?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question about that paper as well.
Okay. So again, I know that this capstone is pretty broad. I think it would probably be a great idea, maybe like starting in a month or so. So maybe like halfway through, for folks to start like thinking about what they want to do, what they want to focus their writing on, and to maybe just schedule a quick chat with me. Like it doesn't have to be long. It could be 15 minutes just to kind of like help you get started. And again, like I'm more than happy to do that during all the office hours or even the Friday slots when we are normally supposed to have class. So that's all just going to be like open office hours by appointment. Okay. Any other questions on the capstone paper or any of the assignments?
So I also have one more quick question. So for the Zoom meeting, it's only office hours, or we can do it between 10:15 to 12:30-ish for the Zoom meetings?
Yeah, so I'm going to say that from here on out, if you want to meet with me, send me an email and schedule a time to meet.
Do we have any subject put on it? Is saying M212 classes appointments, or what the subject, the title? What
It
should
doesn't
be?
matter. You can just say, I want to meet, I want to talk about my paper, or I have a question about this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
so we'll be kind of flexible here. And so again, I don't need, like, we will not meet as a class on this Friday. So I know a lot of you are working in jobs that you have to continue to work at. And I hope that you're all being safe, by the way. So there's no necessary, like, you have to be at a certain place at a certain time. It's very much like you're sort of on your own to do this, and I'm here to support you. But the hardest thing about not having in-class meetings is if you're falling behind, it's really hard for me to know. So I want to be supportive of folks, but it also means that you kind of need to step up your game a little bit in terms of remembering deadlines and things like that. Okay. I got a question that said, how different would my in-class course have been? So I think that I taught 212 last semester, and it was fine, but I didn't love the structure of it. So honestly, I've really been looking to change things up. And I think it's more like, how might this sort of drive what I would do in the future? So I think it would certainly be different because there might be more activities that we could do in person to really ground ourselves in these things. But I think these are the most important things I'd like you to take out of the class. Any other questions, folks, about where to find certain things or how to submit assignments or? Wait time is always so much more awkward when you're just talking to a screen, but a good thing to do in your classroom.
For the paper that we have to do for the last weeks of class, do we need a works cited page for that, or just in text
Um,
locations?
I would say that if you are using diagrams or you are literally like quoting something, then yeah, make like a reference sheet just to cover your bases. Okay. My expectation is that a lot of this is going to be sort of from the textbook that we're using in class, or maybe references to the videos or the math content thinking. So then you don't really need citations. But if you go to some external sources, then maybe, yeah, just put, but it doesn't have to be super formal. You can just have references, and just like if you have a link to whatever you use, just include the link. I don't need anything to be in MLA or format or anything like that.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other clarifying questions? All right, maybe one last thing I just want to show you here is that this part right here, like when you're in Canvas, when you sign into your classes, there's a to-do list right off here. So for me, like when I am done with the item, I just click the X and it goes away. And then I know that I've taken it off my list to do. Some of these are just announcements. So it's just to make sure that you've read the announcement kind of thing. But once you've done your reading assignment 1, you can X that out and it'll be done. Once you've done your video clip response 1, you can X that out and it'll disappear. And so that might be a helpful tool to keep you organized in this remote learning piece. Okay, so we are not meeting on Fridays. Do not show up here next Friday at 10:15. Okay, unless you're like, hey Judy, I want to meet with you to talk about my paper or whatever. I have some questions. Then message me for a specific appointment. Other than that, office hours are like it says on the syllabus, 9:45 to 10:15 a.m. So I will be here from 9:45 to 10:15 a.m. But I will not be here from 10:15 to 12 unless you email me and say, hey, I want to meet. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And you
For
shouldn't feel
Zoom,
bad about emailing me to meet, by the way. Like I just, more than anything, I don't want to sit with my computer open for 2 hours if no one's going to show up. But if you have questions, I am more than happy to help you. So that's just sort of why I want it by an appointment. I don't mean to say like I don't want to meet with you. Okay. Any other questions?
is the Zoom gonna have the same password that you
Yeah.
have listed? Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be the same password every time. I think it's meant to keep more external folks out rather than internal, if that makes sense. Okay. All right. there is one last thing that I want to share with you, and then you all are free to go, okay? I'm going to go to one of my different courses real quick, because for the math assignments, you actually have to upload a PDF file, okay? So let's see, I asked my other class to do that. Okay. So I'm going to post something similar to this, how to take and submit an exam. Ours will say how to do the math assignment and submit the math assignment, okay, because we don't have exams. But once you are ready to turn in your work for the math thinking and content assignment, what you're going to do, and it's going to be sort of this part down here, okay? You're going to make sure that all your work is in order. Make sure that your name is somewhere on this document, okay? And you're going to take, sorry, these two. You're going to take pictures of your work. So make sure everything is in order, okay? If you have a cell phone, and I think most of us should, but if you don't, definitely let me know. We can find a different way to do this. But on your cell phone, there are 2 free apps that I find really useful. One is called Genius Scan, and Genius Scan is a free app. And if you open up the app and then you take pictures of your work and you click save, it saves your work into a PDF. Okay, so don't be scared when I say you have to turn it into a PDF. It's not a long process. If you use the app, it should be pretty straightforward. Okay, you can also use the app Tiny Scanner. I know some people like that. There are some other free apps out there, so feel free to play around with that. Those are just 2 that I happen to find. But yes.
Actually, in the Apple like iPhone, there's a system had the automatically PDF
Okay,
system.
perfect. Yes.
It's kind of in the notes.
Yes, you can definitely do it through notes too. I found that it comes through a little bit better with the Genius Scan, only because sometimes the notes files get too big and you can't upload it to Canvas.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So once you do that, I'll tell you what to title your assignment, and then you're just gonna go to Canvas where it says upload it, and you're gonna upload your assignment. Okay.
So we have to turn in by PDF, right?
Yes. Yeah. The reason why that is because I want to be able to grade your work and return it to you like a regular classroom. And so PDF is the easiest version for me to upload it to my tablet and then grade it right on there and then return it to you. Okay, so it's less about me trying to be like a super type A jerk about it. It's more because it's the easiest way for me to return your work to you. Okay.
So can I upload the picture on the Google Docs and download as the PDF?
Here's why I might say no to that, because what happens is sometimes people do the Google Docs and they put in the picture and it's so small, and then I have to zoom in to find the picture. It's really hard for me to read. So it's just easier if you do it through the other method that I stated. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So if I click on math content and thinking assignment, this is the first one next week where you're going to have to submit something. So once you go to let me go to the student view, sorry. Once you go to the student view, okay, sorry. So we'll go back into that math content and thinking assignment. When I click on that, this is what it looks like from your end. So you can access the assignment by clicking here. And it tells you the directions for the assignment are here. And when you're ready to submit it, the big blue button that says submit assignment, if you click on that, then you can choose your file that you want, and then you can click submit assignment. Okay, so that's where you can find where to submit your assignment. And you only need to do that for the 3 math, content, and thinking assignments, and then your capstone paper. So just those 4 assignments. Everything else is just a discussion, and you don't have to submit anything via PDF. Okay. So I think we've hit all the major points here in terms of the structure of the class, the assignments, the deadlines. So unless there are any other questions, I think you're free to go. If you realize in a week or two that you have questions, definitely reach out. Again, my availability is just to make sure that I don't sit in an empty Zoom room by myself. Um, so again, if you have any questions, just set up an appointment and I'm happy to help you out. Okay.
I have one more question. I'm sorry. I was a little bit confused on do you want us to use Tiny Scanner in order to upload the for the math assignment, or can we just take pictures and send it to you, or send it to the, or upload it on the assignment?
It has to be a PDF.
Okay.
Here's what happens when folks do individual pictures on my end, right? Like as a teacher thing,
Yeah.
if each of you sends me 5 pictures, then to grade your work, and there's like 40 of us, I have to open up 200 different separate files.
Okay.
So logistically, that's a bit of a nightmare for me. So to kind of split the difference, I'm asking you to send it as one file. And that way for every student, I can see all of your work in one file. Okay.
Could you possibly put that on the our page on Canvas on how to do that?
Yes, I will. I just haven't had a chance to do that. And I realized that people have been struggling more with that than I thought they would. So I will do that later today or this weekend.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So for the math content, like the project is due next Friday, that one. And do we need to write it down and then scan it, submit it to you, right?
Yeah.
So is there writing the answer or just need to explain? Does it feel easy? Oh, show your work, explain your reasoning. Is there write it down or type it?
Whatever you prefer. I think writing is probably easier, but if you want to type it, like I wouldn't not grade it. I just think that's more work on your end.
So I need to writing. What do you think for this kind of question? Is it easy or hard? And then do I need to answer the question underneath, or I don't have to answer the question?
It should say right in the thinking assignment what you're supposed to do. Okay, so let's just go through this first one. So for the first one, there are 28 questions in the assignment. I want you to pick 10. After you've picked the 10, you're going to show your work and explain your reasoning. Okay. Now, some of it might be like pretty straightforward, but explaining your reasoning doesn't need to be super long. I just need like a little bit of like, what was your thinking there? Once you're done with your 10 questions, you're going to rank them in order of difficulty. And some folks might want to say, I'm going to rank them for what I think is going to be hardest for the students. But some of you may say, I want to rank them in terms of what's going to be easiest or hardest for me to teach. And then you're going to explain your reasons why something makes it easier or harder. Like, what about the question makes it easy? What about the question makes it hard? Okay.
So I can write it down. That doesn't matter to type it. You can just write it down, right?
Yes. Writing is totally fine.
Can I do a half writing, like half the show the work, like for the math questions?
Whatever makes you feel better. I am very flexible about the format. I just ask that whatever you submit is legible. If I can't read your work, I can't chase you down because we're not on campus. And so it's got to be legible. It has to be submitted in the right format. But other than that, whether you write it or type it is really up to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Any other questions, folks?
No.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, okay? But everyone should have access to the Canvas. And I'm also gonna stop the recording right now so that I can upload it to Canvas in case anybody missed the session from today, okay?